What's up? It's Matt Platt back with another restaurant expert roundup. Today we've got a man of many hats up in New York, Marcus Guiliano. What's going on?
Hello. Everything's going awesome. Thank you for having me on. Really appreciate it. Just up here working, making things work.
What I love about it is when I look through your bio and I look through everything and I'm reading through the book is you can tell that this is written by a person that practices what they preach. You're a restaurateur, you're a chef, you're a coach. So I guess tell everybody a little bit about you, about your company and how you got to where you are today.
Sure, I'd be happy to. So I'm a professionally trained chef. Went to culinary school in 1990, 1991. Went to the Greenbrier in West Virginia. Went to the Broadmoor in Colorado Springs. Worked abroad in England for Pierre Kaufman at La Tonclair, Michelin 3-star at the time. Got a bunch of experience. And at a very young age, my mid-20s, I was getting offered some great jobs as executive chef here and there. And that brought me to some great places as well. And when I was 30 years old, I said, you know what? I'm tired of working for other people. I don't want to work. I want to be my own boss. Okay. So I always thought of myself as a entrepreneur. I never really thought of myself as a chef, although I was a very good chef and that was what I was doing to make money. But I always knew there was a bigger picture for me than just being a chef for somebody. Okay. So I always considered myself an entrepreneur. So at 30 years old, we 31. My wife and I said, let's do something. Let's just go out and do something. It was after 9/11. I actually lost my job after 9/11, the only job I've ever gotten let go from. And I was making a lot of money in about half an hour north of New York City. Okay. And all of the country clubs just went, the finances just went down the drain in all the clubs there. Nobody wanted to be members. They were dropping memberships from 75,000 to 10,000, 15,000 just to get people in the door.
Wow.
And I saw the writing on the wall. I totally saw the writing on the wall. And I knew that they weren't going to renew my contract. My contract was up and I said, okay, I'm not stupid. So I had already had my resume ready to go like a good, business person, and went down to quote unquote sign my contract, which I knew was BS. And I got there and they let me go. And on the 45-minute ride home, I already had 6 interviews set up. And this is back in 2002. Okay. I already had 6 interviews set up on the ride back because of networking.
Yep.
Your network, the more hands you shake, the more money you make, your network. So I never burned bridges with anybody, never burned a single bridge with employers, with vendors. So I had lots of jobs lined up, but I knew that wasn't the answer. So my wife and I found this great little place 4 blocks from our house in a town that was economically depressed. And we opened up Aroma Thyme Bistro at the end of 2003.
Okay.
And struggles began. The real struggles began. I knew what it was to do somewhat marketing, because I always did my own PR. Whatever country club I was a chef at, I was a partner in a restaurant in Colorado for a little while, almost 2 years prior to that. And I did my own PR. So I kind of knew how to do press releases. Now, again, this is before Yelp. This is before the internet's really boomed to before posting.
Social media.
Yep. So we went in business in 2003, and I was ecstatic that we were on, what was it, Chowhound maybe?
Oh, yeah.
Somebody listed us on Chowhound, and I'm like, yes. I'm like, Steve Martin in The Jerk when he finds out he's in print. I'm like, yes, we're online. We're listed. We're online. This is great.
We're going to make it.
We're going to make it. And wow. Not even far from the case. My wife works the business with me. We struggled deeply our first 3-4 years. If I didn't have the passion I had, I would have, or if I would have listened to the accountant, we would have filed bankruptcy and closed.
Okay.
I'm a trained chef though, so I was just working harder, right? And I wasn't really working smarter. I was working harder. I'll just get rid of, the prep cook. I'll get rid of the line cook, and I'll just do everything myself. Yeah. Just chain me to the stove, and my wife just chain her to the bar, and we'll do this whole thing ourselves if we have to. So we slowly grew the business, and rapidly grew the expenses and the debt. And 2008 comes, and I just was like, okay, we're attending seminars, we're going to the trade shows, we're signing up for classes. And we signed up for this one class mastermind group in Boston. We showed up and we couldn't even afford to get a hotel room. We slept in our van that night, drove into Boston late. I remember going to the bathroom at the hotel and freshening up to get into this conference room to go into this mastermind seminar. Yeah. And in this room was 100+ other restaurant owners. A lot of them had been through what I'd been through. A lot of them were extremely successful. And I could relate to these people. I was like, this is a lot of fun. And then at the end, when they give you the sales pitch, it's like, oh my gosh, like how can I afford $1,000 a month and then pay for my travel to go 3 times a year? It's literally, a $20,000 investment, $25,000 investment every year. I mean, but we looked at each other, my wife and I said, let's just do it. Yeah. Let's just do it. Let's not have fear here. Let's do it. And we never looked back at that point. We were a part of that group for 11 full years.
Nice.
We never missed a meeting. I am proud to say that I spent $150,000 to do that. I don't want to say it saved my business, but it gave me the tools so I could save my business.
Okay.
Right. The only person that can help you is yourself.
Yep.
When you're looking in the mirror, that's the person. Nobody else can help you. So, but I was around a support group now of people that had taken their $500,000 restaurant to $2 million. And that was like the norm in the group. Like many of them had done it. Yeah. And I was like, okay, this is great because I'm at that $500,000. That's where I'm at, right? So $400,000, whatever it was, that's where I'm at. So I gotta, really like, this is awesome, encouraging. And the first 3 months that we were in there, my sales increased 44% over the year to date versus the last quarter. Because I was implementing birthday programs, email strategies, postcards, mailers, hand mailers, bounce back offers, I was building my database, which is the number one thing in my book is building database, right?
Have you been stalking me? No.
So build my database. And like Grant Cardone says, hit the list. And we hit the list. And 43% that first quarter, and the rest was history. People started saying, Marcus, you guys are doing amazing. Then they see me driving a Mercedes and they're like, wow, and I'm like, yeah, a couple years ago, like I'm car repossessed, all this kind of stuff. And
I was sleeping.
And, it was just the techniques that I was lacking, certain techniques. Yeah. I could cook all the best food I wanted to, but if I couldn't get the guests back in, and we were a unique situation because we're a destination restaurant. Yeah. Our town, when I said economically depressed, it was economically depressed. 2009 hits. And I'm having a great year because we were already depressed. So I was the only restaurant in this town when we opened in 2003. Now you walk out the door here and there's 6 restaurants on the block alone.
Wow.
And it's a destination for a lot of people now. So people kept asking me, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I was so tired of writing down to them or telling them what to do. I locked myself in my office one night. This was 2009, 2010. I locked myself in the office one night and I said, okay, here's the top 50 things that a restaurant owner needs to do to be successful. I wrote it down. And so this is what I would hand people. And then I made some videos. And then I guess about 2015, 16, I don't know, I formalized it into 50mistakes.com, thus the 50 Mistakes book. And now when somebody says, what do? I go, here you go.
Here you go.
Here's the book.
So let me interrupt and go backwards real quick, because this is a key component that I know about from a marketing standpoint. A lot of restaurateurs don't. I'm in a mastermind right now. I've got the guy's binder on my desk. I've got a box over here for his event in 3 weeks. For the last 7 years, I've been going every year. I've had different coaches where I have a tribe, and it's 15 or 20 people just like me on the same journey. Some are behind me. Most are in front of me. Some are around me. I think it's a huge missed opportunity with restaurateurs. They get stuck in their 4 walls in their kitchen. They get there early. They leave late. And I was telling a guy the other day about masterminds. He'd never heard of one. And we're actually starting one for our clients that we go around the country and do little private ones. I said, you've got to learn to get out of your kitchen and go somewhere for 4 days and listen to 20 people that are just like you. Because if you can grab 3 or 4 things every quarter, it's a gold mine. And that's
100%. And my very first article on Forbes a couple years ago was the biggest mistake on social media, and that is people don't listen. You don't listen. So you go out there and you just brag and you post and you don't interact, but you don't listen. My article is about listening. It's the same thing as a restaurant owner. We have to listen. I know a person who owns 30 restaurants. He's by far one of the top 3, 4 most influential restaurateurs in New York. He's in Vegas. He's in Miami. He's in London. He's in Tel Aviv. I mean, just built an empire. I have one restaurant. When I'm with him, he's asking me more questions than I'm asking him because he always beats me to it first. He wants to know what I'm doing. Yeah. How's this working? What am I excited about? What's one of the new techniques I'm doing? What do I think, the new food trend is? What's a new marketing trend? And now I go talk to his managers and do workshops and masterminds with his managers. I'm just one guy doing one restaurant. He's 30 restaurants globally, and he relies upon me for advice because he's a good listener.
Yep.
What am I going to teach somebody who like that? But he listens. And that's the thing. The most important lesson anybody can do is just listen. Just shut up and listen to somebody when they're talking. You never know what they're going to say. So I love that. So on social media, just listen to people. Listen to what people they're out there. They're hungry. They're looking for a restaurant. Do some searches. Engage with people, and it's easy. We have 3 state parks right next to us.
Okay.
Every single day, there's people on those state parks hiking, taking pictures of waterfalls, and posting on Instagram. What do they think of when the local restaurant comments nice picture at 2:30 in the afternoon?
That's where I'm going dinner.
Where? Oh, honey, look, this restaurant here, Aroma Thyme. They just said nice picture. Oh, wow, they're farm to table. They're 5 minutes from us.
Yep.
Right? I didn't have to post anything on my profile to get that business. I was listening to what people are doing in my area, and every restaurant has something in their area that people are coming to. And if there isn't, make it. Yeah. Like that. Have you heard of the Goats, that restaurant in British Columbia, Goats on the Roof?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They built it. They built everything there. They did something unique and they built it. So now
there's a knockoff version down in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, similar thing.
Okay.
And it's interesting that people don't realize the value of listening in places like Facebook groups. We were doing an interview with a guy, Matthew Borowski owns 618. It's in New Jersey, up near the Jersey Shores. And we were up there shooting my TV show 5-6 months ago. And he made a comment. I put him to the test on. He's like, if you go in any Facebook group around here and you ask them the best restaurant in town, I guarantee you they chime in 618. And so we got done with the interview, and I'm like, you know what? That might be good content for the podcast. We can put the Facebook groups in places like that where people are asking questions. So David, my videographer, popped in the group. We went up there. We had a giant, the big steak, and he gets on there and comments. 80 people within 30 minutes had commented 618 on this post. Hey, what's a great restaurant in the area? We like steak. Boom. And there's a lot of options. And I think a lot of people, like you mentioned, there's unique ways. There's hashtags, there's local places like where your restaurant's located at that you can follow. Like if I was a restaurant in Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, I'd be following the Creation Museum, the Noah's Ark, the Cincinnati Reds, the Bengals. There's all sorts of places that people are congregating that if you say, hey, love that picture at opening day, and they go, oh, crap, man, I could go there after the game. And I think a lot of places miss that. They sure do. I created my own Facebook group years ago called Ellenville. This is the village I'm in town. The town is Wawarsing. Ellenville, Wawarsing, what to do. And I have more members in that group than we have population in our village. And, and I promote everybody equally. Yep. There's no politics. There's no religion. So I have some strict guidelines, and you can't go outside of the realm of our town. No promoting outside of our town. Everything that's good, and no moaning and no complaining, right? So no bashing anybody. Everything that's good that wants to make people to come to our village. And I have more members in there than we have population, and everybody promotes equally, and everybody knows I'm behind the scenes of it. So I just get the credit for it, that I'm doing all this great stuff for town, but I have control of that group, right? Ultimately, that's my group. I control what cover photos go up. I can, I go on there. I do live Facebook Lives on there. I control all that in a fair manner, but I get a lot of credit for it. And people then they say, I also have a site called Ellenville Alive, because
our Chamber of Commerce is great, but they don't have enough infrastructure to build a really good tourism site. What does it cost to do a website these days? Not much. So I have my own tourism website as well, and I promote everybody on there equally, and people appreciate it. So I'm just building that community bond and that knit, and I'm making something happen in our village. I'm making it happen, and I'm rounding up all the good stuff, and here we go. And a lot of restaurants, business owners don't think that they have something good in their town. You'd be surprised if you start asking, why do you come here? Like why do you come visit this area? Like, what's here? You'll find out lots of key answers of why people come to your area, and then you blow that up.
You leverage it.
Then you focus on that. And for us, it's like hang gliding, a bunch of outdoor activities.
So let's talk about customers. I got 3 questions about 3 mistakes. Mistake number 8, 23, and 30. But it's interesting because you've said some stuff that went after my heart, because you don't know a ton about what we do, but our entire company is built around building databases for restaurants. Been doing it for a long time. And I want to show you something, because chapter 8, the mistake, is exactly this. So let me share my screen. You see my screen okay?
I can see it, yes.
So this is our dashboard that we have that is proprietary, that we built, that comes off the back of our clients' programs. This is a restaurant we work with, and this is the cool part about some stuff we do. This is down here, their database that's been built so far with part of the program. But if you look here, 72% of the people that have joined their database have never been to a restaurant.
Huge.
And I always point out the restaurants. It's like a lot of people, yes, you want to focus on, you got to have ways to get your current customers back more often. You got to have a way to win back your lost customers, but you also got to have a way to find new customers. And that is question number 1 I have for you. Mistake number 8, you don't understand the value of getting new paid guests. Talk about that from the book.
Sure, absolutely. So most people don't know the lifetime value of a guest. Mm-hmm. So I know my lifetime value in 5 years, a guest is going to spend about $6,800, $6,900 here. Fantastic. Wow. It's spread out through 5 years. Yep. So if I know that, I would literally pay $250 per acquisition to get one of those. And I think we all would. We can all say, hey, that's a great trade-off. But what's your average check? My average check, COVID, it went down a bit because we do tons and tons of takeouts. Pre-COVID, it was $38, $39. Sometimes up in the 40s, a low 40 per person. That is per person.
Yep.
So, if you laid it out like that, give me $250 and I'll give you $6,900. That's a no-brainer. But most people can't grasp that business concept of, oh my gosh, I have to place an ad. It's not working, because they're not measuring it. They have no way of bringing people into a system and then monitoring them and rating them and talking to them separately, because your database is a great, amazing thing. But look at Facebook. Facebook segregates everybody based upon what you liked, what you read, what you commented, what groups you're in, where you checked in. And you have to treat your database like that too. Your email list needs to be treated the same exact way. Like, are they opening a beer email versus a wine email? Well, then send them more beer emails.
This is I gotta tell you, this is scary how similar. I didn't know you were. I've read some of your stuff. I didn't know you were this path, because that's exactly what we do. Like our whole thing, how it's said on their new frequent lost, I tell our clients, don't build a database of a bunch of emails or telephone numbers or birthdays. No, our key element, know if they're male or female, know if they're new frequent lost. Because if it's a new customer, you got to indoctrinate them. You got to retarget them differently. Exactly. It's, hey, thanks for coming for the first time. If they're a frequent customer, it's high five. You're our favorite. And if it's a lost customer, it can be funny. Like, bro, give me a hug. Where you been? We miss you.
Give me a hug. Or do you hate me?
Yeah.
No, I know you don't hate me. We're all busy. But I've noticed you haven't opened up a few emails that I've sent to you, and I got a great gift for you. Here's $10 on us. Come in and see us soon.
Yeah, and the lifetime value part, it cracks me up. You know, we've got a client, we've got a lot of clients, but one client in particular, he was telling me one time, he said his opt-in offer is a free entree. His average check's $80, and he's got a $60 steak on his menu. And when he first came on board, and for perspective, he's been a client like 4 months now. He's done on the front end like 2,800 people, 68 grand in sales on the front end. But I never forget I was like, hey, you sure you want to give away the free one? Because, I mean, people are going to come and go, free appetizer. He's like, no, free steak, free entree. If they get the $60 steak, I don't really care. He's like, you know why? He's like, because they're going to come back 8 times a year. If I get them to come once, and based on what I see with what you're doing, we're going to get 20% of the people that join this program to come in once. It's my job to get them back 6 times a year, times 5 years, 30 visits. He goes, Matt, 30 visits times $80. Yes, I'll give anybody what the hell they want the first visit. And I hear restaurants say the opposite, like, oh my gosh, Matt, I can't give away a free steak. I'm like, why? You don't value me coming 100 more times than I might have come if you didn't have my information?
Yep. Exactly. And what restaurateurs don't understand is you need to build that in. You need to build a marketing cost into your menu. Like you just like, yeah. So it seems like you should be charging for something, but add a few extra bucks and plan on the giveaways. People don't care about the few extra bucks. They care about the giveaways.
Yeah.
That's what they want. Unfortunately, that's what they want. Human nature is people will drive to 2 different grocery stores because they're going to save $5 if they go from one grocery store to another. They don't walk. Most of us don't walk into a grocery store and say, I'm here for my convenience. Let me overpay this or that. No, it's human nature. Oh, there's this grocery store this week, this grocery store this week, and they go back and forth. Yeah. So acquisition. So that's fantastic. Like, what'd you say? 72% have never been there. That is a home run. Yep. That is a home run. We have these kind of techniques too, where we place these generic ads, or we do surveys or questions, and you get them into a chat bot, and then you get them onto the website, and then you cross advertise with the pixel, and then you get them into your database. And it's people just think that dropping a business card in a fishbowl is getting database entries, and it's so much more intricate. The technology we have of knowing what our guests are doing is amazing. So I mean, the database is key. I forgot where we're going. What step were we on?
Well, I was just talking about the value of understanding that if you don't understand, like I had a client tell me one time, he looked at his dashboard, and that's one thing that we used to not have the acquisition cost on there. This was like 3 years ago. And then a guy named Peter Wiley, who runs 110 or so locations, restaurants, and we do almost all of their marketing. He said, Matt, you're missing the key component of the dashboard. It's this acquisition. He's like, I have no other marketing that I can say his brand was $4.58. When he spends $4.58, somebody engages in the marketing, joins the database, walks in the restaurant, and spends $12. He's like, that $4.58, I can just say, how often can I keep giving you $5? Because if I give you $5 and get that whole process, then you can look at your sales and go, okay, I'm doing $800,000 a year. I want to do $950 by 3 years from now. How do I get there? I need this many more visits. I need this much more repeat, whatever.
Right.
That's a lot of people don't know that. It's a mystery. I always use the example of marketing. I'm in my house right now, and I say, you know what? Imagine if I bought a house down the street and my realtor told me I bought it, and I paid a bank for it, and I pay a monthly payment. I had insurance on it, but I've never physically been to the house. At some point, I'm going to be wondering, what the hell am I paying for? That's what marketing is to most restaurants, is that they've never actually seen the results, the fruits of the labor.
I would agree 100%. And when they do it wrong, right? They just throw an ad in a wedding planner, no call to action, or the newspaper. Or my favorite is, oh yeah, I place Facebook ads and they suck. I'm like, let me guess. You just press boost a post and throw $50 on it, and you have no idea who saw it. There was no call to action. You track nothing. They're like, well, isn't that Facebook advertising? I'm like, that's just if you have an extra few bucks to throw on for awareness, which is fine. But there's a whole strategy behind the Facebook ads. And there's a reason why Facebook ads work, is because if you know how to do them, they work drastically. We love Facebook ads. So you said something very important about the guy with the steaks. Get them in the habit of walking in the door. Yeah. Where our human nature is like, to get somebody to break a habit's huge. Once they start something like that, I've always tell our coaching clients, just get them in the door. Whatever it takes, get them in the door. Get them in the habit of walking in. If you have to give, like during the pandemic, we were giving out free latex gloves. At the time, latex gloves were $30 a case. Now they're $120 a case. But still, to give out 12 latex gloves, even if they're $120 a case, for 1,000 gloves, what does 12 gloves really cost you? But as a community service and as awareness, you're getting people to walk into your door for free gloves who've never even been a guest in your restaurant. Like, oh, this is what it's like in here? Let me tell you something. We've gained a ton of new guests by just having them walk in for free gloves during the pandemic. Something simple as that. Plus, it's advertising dollars, right? Advertise. That's what it is. To look at it as that, and just get them in the door. No matter what you can do, just get them in the door.
Get a chance to swing the bat. So
exactly.
Next mistake is mistake 23. And this is ironic. And the reason all three of these chapters stuck out to me, there are these mistakes, is because of my involvement in them. I got involved with restaurants in 1999 with radio advertising. One of my first clients was a place called Ferrari's Little Italy, Tony Bassano, Sr. And I remember they couldn't afford to be on radio, but they needed to be. Our station was a good fit. There was a lot of opportunity. And I said, why don't you trade food? I'm a sales rep. I go out with clients all week long. I'm dropping 40 or 50 bucks on client lunches. We'll give you advertising in exchange for gift cards so that I can bring clients here. So not only one, am I saving money, but two, I'm introducing somebody to your brand. And I can't tell you, I used to go to Ferrari's Little Italy once or twice a week for probably 3 years on trade. And every person I took there was brand new with me. And they're like, oh my gosh, it's unbelievable. I'm bringing my wife here this weekend. When I saw this, horse trading's back, know how to barter. Talk about the value there, because I'm guessing that's would probably be right near and dear to your heart.
I've bartered down payments on cars before.
I bartered our landscaping one time at our house a long time ago, the entire landscaping for advertising consulting.
So I recently stopped at my mechanic. I had to have him look at something while I was driving past, and he goes, Marcus, you have a balance with me? And I said, Scott, I'm sorry, I didn't realize I had a balance with you. Let me pay it. He goes, no. You have something better than your money. You have your food. He goes, I'll trade out with you on a regular basis. And I said, Scott, perfect. That's awesome. Right. You don't realize how many other people are willing to trade out for products and services. You have no idea until you start asking around other businesses, other professionals, plumbers, everything. They will, even if they won't do 100% of it, they might do a couple $100.
Yeah.
So you're a couple $100. What does it cost you? You're running a tight ship. It's 25 cents on the dollar, right? For food. Your seats are probably not going to be filled anyway. You could probably squeeze them in easily. And there's just so much of an advantage to bartering, but really, again, you're getting used to that person coming into your restaurant.
Yeah.
And the more that business,
they're bringing somebody else. Yeah, if they're bringing a business,
something else, but they're in business too. So they're going to tell about your business in their business, hopefully. So that's, it's more than just bartering. It's a relationship. Yep. And it's a word of mouth from that. I mean, literally, I've bartered, I've leased a couple of vans in the past. You have to put down $2,500. I've bartered that whole thing out with the car dealer. 100% barter, the down payment.
I've bartered some crazy. I've bartered some crazy stuff. The best one I had, there's a brand down here called Grader's Ice Cream. It's an unbelievable ice cream brand. They were a client of mine back in the early 2000s. We had a Pop-A-Shot in our cubicles, and I had this drawer. I was known as the barter king in radio, and I always had like 20 grand in barter in there at some point because I just did so much of it. I lost 1 week, $2,500 in Grader's gift cards to Doug Smith, my director of sales now, but my buddy who sold radio with me, because I couldn't beat him in Pop-A-Shot. But we were betting. He was using cash. I was using Grader's gift cards. And his wife blames me for gaining 20 pounds that year. She said, man, we ate ice cream for a damn weekend because you sucked at Pop-A-Shot.
And the bottom line is you don't know unless you ask. Yep.
So the last mistake is one that I know for a fact I sucked at in a prior life. I must be decent at it now because I think my strength is hiring people at a professional level versus the retail. We had a boat and RV dealership. My dad and myself and my brother, we had it for 9 years. It grew from 0 to 15 million in annual sales. We had 40-something employees. And I'll never forget about when we got in the high 30s, we had a consultant come in named John Kiefer, the results group. He analyzed all of our stuff. He's like, you've fired everybody that you ever hired. Who is hiring these people? And I'm like, me? He's like, okay, you apparently suck at asking questions on interviews. So you're not allowed to talk to people anymore. So talk about holding an audition, because in the restaurant business, that server can be awesome or they can be maintenance. And awesome is what brings me back more often.
100%, right? It's awesome. You're willing to forgive mistakes if people are genuine.
Yeah. If
people are sincere and they try to fix it and they're personable, that's just, the name of the game here. I'd rather have somebody who I can talk to, approachable, likable, and have an imperfection rather than perfect service with somebody who's like, what's wrong with that person? Yeah. You know, within a quarter of a second, when you walk to anywhere, you walk up to a bartender, to a waitress, to the hostess, you know, in a flash of a second, if you're getting along with that person.
Okay.
The energy is instant, totally instant. The way they look, the way they present themselves, the way they greet you, like that, you know. And that will ruin a whole dining experience for somebody if you have one of these types of people on your team. So, you know, asking people, you know, during interviews, you know, there's always several different techniques that I like to use. You know, of course, I have to have a good energy with somebody. Totally have a good energy. I hired a guy once. He walked in, African-American guy. He walks in and he applied for a dishwashing position. And so I fill out the application. He goes, I need to be honest with you. And we had hi, how are you? This and that. Here's your application, this and that. And I could feel good energy. Looks at me and goes, I gotta be honest with you. I just got out of prison, 22 years, accessory to murder. Like, imagine going to a job interview and saying that. But it's small town. I would have known, right? I would have known. So he figured, be honest with me. But I knew he wasn't a thug. He was a good person. Yeah. I felt that energy, right? I felt that energy. I used my emotional intelligence. I hired him. He worked for me for 2 years. He still comes to the restaurant and eats and hangs out, and I still see him around town, and we have a good laugh. One of the best employees I've ever hired. Yeah. So you can't look at credentials. You can't look at history. You have to really understand who that person is, what makes them tick, their attitude. And this is why hiring people with less experience is sometimes a lot better. They're going to try harder. They're not stuck in their own ways. They're not going to be like, oh, I've been serving for 20 years, and that's just not the way you do it.
Well, that was going to be one of my questions, is that I actually had 2 calls today from clients. Both of them need employees. We don't do HR stuff, but I'm like, well, maybe we need to figure it out. So we do it. We'll help them out occasionally with Facebook, Instagram, things of that nature. But one thing I've noticed in the casual dining segment as much is that when you have a server, you have bartenders, they've all served and bartended 20 places. And a lot of times they have poor ingrained habits. The grass is always greener. And this is with any occupation, not just servers or bartenders, is that people that leave 20, 30 places, you wonder why. And so I was going to ask you that when you're interviewing people, how much of a factor do you say, hey, this person has sold cars for 15 years, then they don't have no restaurant experience, but you know what? They have people experience. And that's what's key.
I'm excited when somebody comes like that. There's a reason why Elon Musk hired 0 people from Detroit, because he didn't want to hear what he couldn't do in Tesla.
Yeah.
Right? You hire those execs, you hire those people from Detroit, they're going to reminisce all the failures, what you can't do. And you need a fresh mind. You need people that are going to be like, yeah, okay, yeah. Based upon no experience whatsoever. The reason I opened the restaurant is because I was naive. If I had owned another business in this town, I would have said, there's no way I'm opening a restaurant, because I know what it was like previous in this town. But I was naive. I went into it. Yes. So I love when people come from other industries. I love to learn how they did things there. And of course, being moldable is just amazing. But here's the thing. If your dog runs away, you don't beat the dog when he comes back, right? You have to be happy the dog's home, right? Be happy the dog's home, because the dog's it's going to stop coming home if you beat him every time he comes home. So when your staff makes mistakes, you have to encourage them in the proper manner. Yeah. You have to give constructive, positive feedback. But one of the best ways to do that is you let them on their own. And if you can't let somebody on their own, you need to train them more or get rid of them. And training is something you do every day, not something you did. Companies think, oh, I did orientation, that person's trained. No. Training is all the time. And my staff knows it's on the job training. We do formal training. Now we do Zoom calls. But prior to that, it was in-person training. Now they know it's Zoom calls and in-person on the floor. I'll tell you when something goes wrong, but it's a matter of encouraging them. And we have a policy at the restaurant where they have $50 per guest per incident to make any guest happy without coming and asking me. which means if a steak is burnt, comp it. Don't ask me. Take care of it. I don't want to know. If, the ticket's wrong, it takes too long. This $50, no questions asked. If I nitpick them on every single time they did that, they'd be afraid to do it. So I set the policy, and I'm the one who has to hold the policy now. I set the policy. You guys have $50, no questions. After $50, it needs management approval. Yeah. Do your thing. So a lot of it's trusting the right people. When you trust the right people, they will bend over backwards for you. They will try to. Nobody starts a job and says, I'm going to come here and suck at this job. I'm going to come here and totally make the owner upset, the boss upset. I'm going to come here and do everything I possibly can to do a bad job. Nobody starts a job like that, but that cycle starts when you keep somebody who shouldn't be there, or if you're not doing the proper training to somebody who could really flourish. And you're doing an injustice by keeping somebody that shouldn't be there. They have their calling somewhere else. Yeah. And I explained to all of my team members, I'd love to help you get your next job. Like that's my goal, is to help you get your next job so I can see you grow. This industry, there's a lot of young people that join this industry that have zero direction. They don't know what they're doing. They just know that anybody, quote unquote, anybody can go wait tables. Anybody can go wash dishes. And they get into these positions, no guidance from home, no guidance from school. And I'm their closest thing they have to let's make a plan. Let's set some goals. So I really view myself as a personal coach, motivational coach, rather than a boss. I'm their boss, but I have to show them that, hey, this is the potential of things. You want to drive a nice car, you want to have a family, you want to have a house, you have to have a goal and a strategy to get there. And job hopping's not the strategy. Yeah. Unless there is gain a certain skill and move on to the next place to get another skill. And I teach everybody, never take a job for the money. Take a job for what you're going to learn, because the money will follow. Yeah. The money will totally follow.
Yeah, money comes with skill.
My plight was $750 an hour, $850 an hour, $12 an hour, $105,000 a year within a matter of 4 years. Yeah. I literally went through that kind of a process because I built a foundation. I even worked for free. I went to London to work for free. What is a Michelin 3-star restaurant going to hire an American with no work visa? Just show up my knives and said, I'm here, chef, for 6 months. I'll do whatever you want. And that's what I did. But when people look at you and say, wow, you worked there? You worked at the place that trained Gordon Ramsay. You worked for, Marco Pierre White worked there. You worked there. Yeah, I worked there. Yeah. Don't even care what you did. Yeah. Nobody asked, what'd you do there? Right? No, you were in the kitchen. You were in the surroundings. And that was part of my strategy, to gain experience at any possible. Gain experience, work the best restaurants, gain experience at any possible, whatever it took. And if it took working for free, that's what I did. I worked for free for 6 months, then another couple months in another place, and in another place. And that was what my graduate school was. I would have paid to go. People pay thousands and thousands of dollars to go to college. And here I'm learning for free. It's a no-brainer.
Well, man, I love it. I've kept you too long. I appreciate your time. I know you got things that happen. This has been one of my favorite conversations. I feel like I paid you to say certain stuff. I've never had a restaurateur talk about chatbots. I don't know if you know this. I've written 2 books. I spoke at Facebook Messenger Mini Chats Conference 2 years ago.
Awesome.
We have the most traffic of restaurants in Messenger, texting, email in the country. So I feel like I paid you like an endorsement fee to make you say certain stuff, but I love it. I can't wait to have another conversation because I want to go deep into that stuff.
We use chatbots all the time. I did a contest 2 weeks ago, gave away a $100 gift card. Name your favorite beer. The chatbot takes over, then sends you to my webpage, opt in on my active campaign, database entry, and then you're officially entered in, and we gave away a $100 gift card. It was great.
You can take them straight from the chatbot and bypass the opt in on the website.
Yeah, you can zap them, right?
You can zap. I can show you that. I got my team show you.
Yeah. I was recently trying talking about that with my with one of my guys to zap them right in there. So yeah, that's what I got to do. But I had an entrance survey on there where I found out if they're vegetarian, if they eat meat. So I had a little checkbox of all that kind of stuff. I don't know if I could do that through.
You can do that all through Messenger. Yeah,
okay,
we find out new, frequent, or lost, birthday, phone number, email, gender comes automatically. We find out if they have a family, if they have kids or no kids, they live or work near the restaurant. You can find out about anything. And, especially when you're doing like you're talking about, I'm guessing you were using the comment growth tool. We had one the other day that had 2,900 comments on a post for a restaurant up in Northern Ohio, of which 900 people that commented weren't in the VIP program. I mean, it's
amazing.
Well,
those are great.
I'll show you this stuff one time, but I know you got to run the restaurant. The book can be found at your website along with your other book, MarcusGuiliano.com. Awesome read. And what I like the most about it is a lot of books, like a book I'm reading now, which I like, but it's got long chapters and I've got ADD, man. My mind's going. This one, I can read these mistakes. They're all between 2 to 5 pages typically. And I love the fact that I can resonate with most of these because it's not like, hey, here's what to do. It's, hey, here's what you've probably already screwed up. And we're like, oh, yeah, I did that. Oh, yeah, I did that.
I purposely wanted to write the book like a cookbook where it's ingredients.
Okay.
You can jump into any section and say, okay, here's the bread section. Here's the dessert section, right? So you have staff, you have advertising, you have all these different sections. Jump in and here's the recipes from that section. I'm working on a new book. I worked on 7 chapters this morning. Everybody still has to eat.
Yep.
During COVID and beyond, everybody still has to eat. And when restaurants are throwing in the towel, it's you didn't have to throw in the towel because everybody still has to eat. You have to figure out a way to feed them. So that's my next book. I'm really, really excited on. I'm working very diligently on that. And I waited purposely a full year to make sure that, hey, all the stuff that I did in the restaurant worked.
Yeah.
And I had my best year ever. Best net profit, best gross sales. So for me, it was amazing.
Yep.
And maybe some other time I can come on and talk about all the other things that restaurants can do to make the side money, the side hustle, like the YouTube channel. I've made over $100,000 on YouTube. People don't realize you can do that.
Yeah.
The travel business we do, all these other things are so powerful that restaurants are letting slip through the cracks.
Well, I think we ought to do a webinar then. I think it ought to be a webinar. I can market it. Plenty of people. That would be a cool. We'll have to talk. I'll get you offline and we'll get going on that.
Yeah, and another great topic is the psychological biases of buying. What tricks the brain into buying? How to be likable? The reward bias. All these great things that we don't think of as marketers, as restaurant owners, that make people's decisions like that, and they don't even know it.
Yeah.
So that's another. There's so much stuff I love to talk about. I love helping restaurants.
I'm just going to have a couple of my boys that are a lot bigger than us. They're going to come up, take you out of your area, bring you down here. And it might be human trafficking, but it'll be for a good cause. And then we'll get all your brain and then we'll be good.
Awesome. This is a lot of fun.
Well, I appreciate your time today. I look forward to talking more, and y'all stay tuned. We got some more content coming at you. Thank Marcus.
Thank you.